Welcome to In Conversation with Hemali. Sharon is the founder of COVID Rights India, a platform where people can reach out for pro bono advice on legal issues arising out of COVID-19 and find information pertaining to their rights during this pandemic. Sharon is a law graduate from the Gujarat National Law University. She is currently a research associate at the CPR Initiative on Climate, Energy and Environment. She also worked as an associate litigator with the Legal Initiative for Forests and Environment with a Delhi-based environmental law firm. Welcome, Sharon, and thank you so much for being amongst us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
Thanks, Sharon. So, Sharon, what drove you to start with COVID Rights India, and could you tell us more about what exactly does the company do?
So, honestly, it was at a meeting that I had with a couple of my colleagues where at CPR, we were discussing, it was just a normal social call. And one of my colleagues happened to mention that his landlord had he'd been infected with COVID-19. And so they immediately rushed him to the hospital, but every hospital was denying him admission because he didn't have a positive RT-PCR test result with him at the time. And then in the rush of having to get the test results, and at that point, everything was taking so much time, like getting test reports were taking 48 hours. So in the rush of having to get the test results, submit them to the hospital, in the interim period, he passed away.
Oh.
And my colleague was very upset about this. And he said, and that's when I told him that, the actions of the hospital are in violation of not just Supreme Court directions, but even the Delhi government has specifically said that no person can be denied admission to a hospital merely because they don't have an RT-PCR test result, or even for want of identity proof or residence proof or any of those things. And the only thing that he had to say is, well, I wish I had known this sooner. And that's when I realized that a bunch of us lawyers come with this privilege that we get to read these judgments. We're always in the know about these things. And a lot of people might not have that benefit. So that's how I created this platform where we take the information, we break it up into simple, easy to understand blog articles, and we post them on the website, we post them on our social media platforms, all of these, and we aim to send the message out to people that, well, these are your rights, these are what you're entitled to, and these are things that you can demand from your institutions. So that, and the hope is that we get to save some lives or we get to help some people during the pandemic. So that's how it started.
So Sharon, was this received positively by people, when you started advertising, or rather putting it out on the social media and everything? What kind of response did you receive?
It was so strange because it was just like an idea that I had over a meeting, and then I just sat with my laptop and over a weekend just created this website. And then the response that came from social media, from journalists, from lawyers, our community of lawyers, everyone, it was just so overwhelming to see that, you had this huge void and no one recognized this huge void, and people were glad, even the response from people that, well, I want to join, I want to help. And that's how this one person thing became this huge community of people, of lawyers just helping people out during the pandemic. People are facing financial issues.
Yes.
Having to hire a lawyer shouldn't be one of them.
Of course.
It's been overwhelming.
Wow, wonderful. I mean, this is so outstanding that, it just came to your mind and you put it into action, because most of the times we have so many thoughts that come by, and then they just live there. They don't take the next step ahead. Well done, really. So I believe that there are some schemes and benefits that have been announced by different state governments, specifically for those impacted by COVID-19. How does your organization add value to help?
So there are two things that we do. One is there's a huge difference between when the government announces something through a press release. Let's say one of the state governments announces that we will provide 50,000 as a compensation for any person who has lost their family member to COVID. But that's very different from an actual notified scheme. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand. Like, unless the scheme is actually notified and has been passed by the cabinet and all of these things, no one can actually avail of them. And that's the misinformation that we want to bridge, that sometimes there are these schemes which are announced as a press release, but more often than not, they don't actually have the legitimacy for people to actually apply for them. So what we do is we clear those doubts, but also what we do is we help people whenever there are actual schemes that they can apply for. We help them apply, we help them fill out the application forms, who they can get in touch with, how we can expedite the process, because I just don't think that this is something, and having to read legal documents or notifications are something that they need to be concerned with right now. It's
true.
It's a little.
I think more than concerned, we wouldn't even understand, because normal legal documents are so difficult to really kind of figure out what they mean and what we're supposed to do. So that's such a huge help that you're putting forward. How are you creating this awareness about your initiative? Although you did tell me that you were putting it out in the social media, but is there any other way that you're creating awareness about your initiative so that more people know about their rights during this pandemic?
Yeah, so I have an incredible team working with me, and I honestly can't take credit for this part of it at all. But so Aditi and Shifali and Aman and Mandakini, they've been very instrumental in this. They sort of reached out to radios, uh, like Hindi radios or English FM channels. So we speak through them, and they sort of send out the message to listeners, which has been a huge help. Social media, of course, has been great, but the other great thing has been how a bunch of journalists have been very helpful, like Rajdeep Sardesai, Faye D'Souza. All of them have taken this message out and they're amplifying it, which makes so much more. I mean, their reach is so much more, and they're using their stand to do all of these things. It's incredible, and we're just a bunch of um, fresh out of law school graduates. For them to take a chance on us and push our message forward has been great. So right now we're actually working on entering into like a district level um, approach of outreach, where we've picked 2 pilot districts to see how it could work. We team up with their NGOs based in that area or district collectors based in that area, and we try to tell them that this is what we're trying to do, this is our WhatsApp number, please put it on the bulletin boards or any sort of meetings that you might have. So we're trying to reach the most disadvantaged communities as well, and not just the ones that are available on social media. So yeah, and it's just a great team that's doing it.
Fantastic, and I think that's a lovely thing, where a team comes together to achieve that dream. Sharon, so I'm just thinking, that while you being supported by people like you mentioned about journalists and everyone, do you have you ever while you're trying to help people, have you faced legal issues in terms of that you need to take permissions from the government to help out the way you want to? Have you faced any situations?
Fortunately, we haven't faced any of those situations. Everyone has just been very cooperative. I mean, that's the overwhelming part of this entire initiative. Like, we haven't had, and touch wood, but we haven't had a single block just toppling over, or any hurdles as such that we haven't been able to overcome. It's even like IAS people, bureaucrats, they're all willing to forward the message, send the message out. The doctors community have been forwarding it to people that, this is something that we can feel of. Like, every person from every kind of community has recognized the need for something like this, and that there are people who are so impacted by the pandemic that we haven't had any impediments in that way.
And who wouldn't, I mean, Sharon, who wouldn't trust, these young people who are doing what they can, apart from their work and everything, they have thought about others. And you all are really young to kind of, start thinking about how to help out the society. Well done. Share with us, what kind of rights does an individual have during this ongoing pandemic?
So some of the rights that we like to highlight is we've broken it up into 3 phases. Like, what are your rights that every citizen has during the pandemic, whether it's respect to your lockdown rights, or what if you flout lockdown norms, and what can a policeman say to you? What can he charge you with? What are the things that you can do? Or the second part is rights of COVID patients. So like I explained earlier, like hospitals can't deny admission on the basis of lack of identity proof or residence proof. The pandemic in India showed us that a lot of states were facing health infrastructure problems more than the others. Delhi was in a really bad state, so people would go out to other neighboring states and they would face issues like hospitals asking for identity proof or address proof that to show that they stayed in that state. So we want to inform them that no hospital has the right to ask those questions.
Oh,
And the last is that, sorry?
Oh, is that right? Even I'm not even aware of this. Yeah.
Yeah. So even if I'm a Delhi resident, if I go to Haryana and say that please admit me, they can't ask me for my identity proof or my residence proof. All of those things can't happen. Not even Aadhaar. And that's what it's something that I mean. I'm pretty sure my parents didn't know, even though I keep having these conversations with them, and it's so strange, but we feel the need to tell people those things. And these are directions from the Supreme Court of India. Like it couldn't, yeah.
That's right. But Sharon, we're not aware of these kind of things at all. And it's wonderful that you're educating all of us, really. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and the last category is post-COVID care or vaccine rights. Mm-hmm. One of the most crucial vaccine rights is that anyone from the differently able community must have special privileges. All vaccination centers, which are government vaccination centers, must have ramps enabled there, and they should be, those kind of guidelines are very well set in stone, not just by government orders, but also by high courts and the Supreme Court as well. So those are the things we want to explain to people. Even the relationship between the insurance company and the hospital, all of those things that they have to have it done in. So insurance companies have to communicate approvals to hospitals within 30 to 60 minutes. They can't keep delaying. Yeah, that's a right that you have. That's a right that you can assert during the pandemic.
Wow.
And it's so disheartening that more people don't know about this, and it's an additional stress over what they're already facing. Absolutely. And that's what we want to confront.
Lovely. So Sharon, you have a young team aboard, right? Any particular reason to have only young minds coming together? Because I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to understand, how do you reach out to the seniors? I mean, you're very young, and how do you create that confidence, for people to have in you?
That's honestly, we always thought that would be the most challenging thing because we're a young team. Yeah. But full credits to the people who had the trust in us, absolutely. But the benefit of having a young team is it's just so much energy, it's so much devotion. And the best part is everyone is very courageous with their ideas because everyone's on a clean slate. You have no idea of what the conventional thought process is. Right. So you're always thinking of out of the box solutions. Like we would never have thought that, let's go to district offices or district collectors and put up posters of our WhatsApp number, or something as simple as one of our interns, not even like our core team, but one of our interns said that, well, we should make our website more accessible to differently abled by having screen reading, or we should make it more accessible to, like, we have a WhatsApp bot right now, or more languages. All of those things are things that I think young people are more cognizant of.
Yes.
And
that's right.
It's just, benefits of that are just, it's transformed the way that we've grown from a little small thing that started over a weekend to just helping so many people.
Fantastic. Yeah. So would you consider yourself to be an inspiration? Because a young team and already reaching out to so many, that makes me, to me, you definitely are an inspiration. But do you consider yourself as one?
Thank you, Hemali, for saying those things. But I don't know if I consider myself to be an inspiration as such. It's interesting that you brought this up. So I actually was in conversation with another person who's been helping out during the pandemic. I'm not sure if you know about him. He's I think he's into coding, and he's an engineer by profession. Okay. And he created this software which guides people for vaccinations, help them locate their nearest spots and all of those things.
Okay.
And there's a sentence that he told me. He's like, it's great that we're able to use the skills that we have to help a bigger audience. And I think that's all that we're doing. We're not an inspiration. We're using the skills that we were taught to make a difference. And it's something that we ought to do.
Very modest, I must say, but then, I'm sure a lot of young people, who are going to be viewing my interview with you, as well as, people who are reading about you, would definitely realize that they can take that step ahead too. Because like I said, we all have so many thoughts in our minds, but we don't take the step ahead, and you did. And that's very inspiring, Sharon. And Sharon, I would request you to leave a message behind for the viewers. And before you leave a message, I also want to ask you, I live in Singapore. The viewers for my channel are, of course, people from Singapore, as well as from other countries. If they need advice, can they reach out to you? And if yes, can I share your link, on the video?
Of course, we'd definitely be happy to help anyone in need. So the benefit of having young people, again, is this. It's such a wide community of people who, all it takes is one message on one large group of lawyers, and someone comes up, someone will volunteer their time, whether it's in India, whether it's in Singapore, or in any other country. You'll always find like-minded people. It's just about taking the step to reach out to them. So I have no doubts in people stepping out and stepping up and helping. So please feel free to share our link with whoever might need it. We're always happy to help.
Thank you.
And
yes, a message, please.
So a message for your viewers. I think throughout the conversation, this is something that's just been going back and forth. So I think I'll just reiterate that. It's that it's good to have little ideas, but always push through. Always act on it, because you just don't know how many people you could be impacting. And that's a great feeling. I mean, I think we all underestimate our skills. We underestimate our potential. But my older brother actually pushed me to do this. I was also in this thought process phase, and I was like, oh, this is really sad. And he was the one who said, well, so why don't you do something about it?
Wow.
So that's my message. If you have an idea, if you think you can make an impact, why don't we do something about it?
Lovely. Thank you so much, Sharon, for sharing your views and reaching out and contributing towards the society and leaving that very, very inspirational message behind. Helping one person might not change the world, but it could change the world for one person. Leaving you with that thought and hoping we all take the step ahead to do our bit. If any one of you wants to connect and get some advice from Sharon, the link is provided in the description, and you may approach her. Thank you very much, Sharon. It was a pleasure talking to you and wishing you the best, to you and your young team, the best ahead.
Hi, it was wonderful talking to you. I'm so happy that you're able to spread the word to more people.
Absolutely. Thank you.